Hi everyone, my name is Lewis and welcome to Traditional Black Powder. Today we're going to talk about balls. No, not those. These. Alright, let's say you're at the range and you have a nice rest and you already established your group, so you know that it's a good group, and you start shooting and you start getting everything to a nice decent group, but all of a sudden you get maybe one that's a flyer, something, maybe something like this. Let's see if you can see that. Okay, you can see over here that one of them is outside of the group. Okay, so there's a lot of variables that could cause that, but if you've gotten consistent and you have everything else, and then you're wondering why am I getting a flyer here and there, it could be possibly the ball that you're using. If you ever get or buy a pack of ammunition, 50 caliber balls, 40 caliber balls, whatever the caliber, and you get them from some manufacturer, give this a try. Go ahead and actually, and it might be a little tedious, but it won't take that long. Go ahead and weigh the balls, all of them, right? And see what kind of variance do you get. I've tried that with a couple of different brands, and you'd be surprised of what you see. I've had some boxes where maybe 20% of the balls that were in the box were more than 1 grain off. So a couple of grains. Some were even the size were a little bit different. And this can make a difference. If you think about it, if you have a ball that weighs a certain, let's say 182 grains, right? And then you have another one that may weigh 180, okay? And they're the same size, okay? What's missing? Well, obviously there has to be something different. So the problem is the weight of the ball is not the same, so there's probably some kind of air pocket or cavity in there that's different. So if you think about it, if you have the same size ball, okay, but it weighs a grain or two difference, if there's an air pocket in there or some kind of abnormality, it's most likely not centered either. So think of well, I don't know if have you ever had a tire that's out of true, where the balancing point is not right, and you start getting up to speed. Then you can notice this shake and vibration as you go faster and faster on the highway. Well, think about it if it happened to something like this, where you're shooting it up between 17 and 1900 feet per second, and it's not weighed properly, and at that speed, it'll be enough to throw it off the target. So I was having this particular problem myself. And I've had everything. I was doing everything the same, consistent with the way I loaded it, the same amount of powder. I had, using the same ramrod, a range rod, because I was doing this at the range. So the pressure on it was all the same. Seating the bullet, make sure the bullet is seated. Patching was exactly the same, and no variations in the balls. That ammunition that I got from the box, right? So once in a while, I would start getting, like I showed you before, a flyer that will go outside the target, and I know I didn't flinch. I had a smooth trigger pull, and there should have been any reason, no wind. It shouldn't have been any reason for something like that to happen. So I decided to weigh them out. Okay, and boy, a couple of times I was really surprised how bad they were. They weren't consistent at all. I've had, like I said, 20% or so in one box where the weights were either under or over what the average was. So I decided to cull those out just for a test, and then give it another shot the next time I went out at the range. So I went out at the range, and the next time that I gave it a try, I shot something like this. Let's see if you can see that. And it's fairly tight, and yes, that group can probably be improved, but then again, I'm shooting iron sights, and my eyes are not that great. So there could be some tiny variations that could throw it off, but I'm pretty happy with that group. But it's a great improvement over what I was shooting before, where you get really frustrated where, hey, everything's going great, and all of a sudden you got a shot that goes out here instead of where your normal group was, you know. So after doing that test and actually removing all the balls that were really either too heavy or too light, and I kept everything to 1 grain, within 1 grain, I stopped seeing the flyers, you know. Not, you know, and if I pull a shot and I know that I pulled it or I squeezed the trigger incorrectly, whatever, I know that it's me. One of the ways to probably get around it, because you know, when you buy ammunition, factory ammunition, you don't know what if the next box that you get, did it come out from the same mold? Did it not? You know, is it the same diameter? Was the process done where there is no bubbles in there, or some kind of abnormalities in the ball? You don't know. And if you switch brands and you go to some other manufacturer, now you're starting, you know, all over again. And I have switched a couple of brands, and yeah, I've noticed that one manufacturer is probably more consistent than the other, and you know, still you're taking a little bit of a gamble. But if you go and start weighing them out and just testing them out to see if that's the problem, you might be able to find the issue. The way to probably correct that is probably to cast your own, you know, because if you do that, you will always have the same ammunition, and there won't be any variances. And then if there are, you just grab those balls and throw them back into the pot and get them started again, and cast them again. So in the long run, that's what I'm going to do. I've got the casting equipment to get started doing that. I'll probably start doing that once I run out of the stuff that I bought, you know. And the ones that are too light or too heavy, you can use them for plinking around or for fun. Or you can actually, you know, if you're going to start casting like I'm doing, I'm just going to save them and throw them into the pot when I start casting. So anyways, I just wanted to give you a heads up on maybe giving that a shot to see if you're having those kind of issues with a weird flyer, to give it a try and see if that fixes the issue. Because I tell you, when you start having stuff like that where you're shooting great and everything's going within, you know, 1.5 inches or whatever, and you know, accuracy is all relative with what you're trying to do. For me, 1 inch or 1.5 inches is plenty fun. It's plenty good. For me, that kind of accuracy, and for what I'm doing, just recreation, it's fine. You know, I don't need to worry about, you know, punching everything into one ragged hole. Although, you know, groups like this are not, no, they're not bad, you know. So anyways, give it a try, you know, sort out a handful next time you go out and see if that fixes that issue. Okay, so I want to give credit to Dutch Schultz. I read one of his articles and this gave me the idea to go try this out, and I found it very helpful. Thanks, Dutch. So thanks for joining me, and until next time, keep the tradition alive.